random assortment of timber and a bit of brass. Let's make a walking stick.
So how the hell do you make a walking stick? I've never made one, but let's not let that stop us. So, a bit of Google searching, a bit of overconfidence, and off I go as I work my way through the process and start getting pretty confident, cocky you would even say, thinking, boy, I've got this down to pat and I ain't gonna have any problems. That's when it all turns to shit and you ask, happened to that? That's an absolute disaster. Voila. Look at that. First thing I've got to do on this piece, this is a piece of manuka, is just to flatten one side so I can put it through the bandsaw and start squaring it off and getting some usable timber out of it. I'm going to make the handle out of this manuka. So once we've got that squared up, this piece here, which is an unidentified hardwood, I'm going to make the actual walking stick out of this. So the manuka, the handle, and the stick's going to be made out of this. And I'm going to laminate the stick together. So we're going to cut it into pieces here, and then between this we're going to laminate some microcarpa. The microcarpa is going to be 3mm thick. You can see here I flatten one side off, and then I'm going to mark 3mm in the thickness and then plane it to size. As you can see, I keep this as even as possible as I plane it down, and then what I'm looking for is as I slice through that marker gauge cutting mark on the timber, it'll just start lifting up and leaving off a little fine slither. You can see it there. That's what I'm looking for, and that's when I call it good. And that leaves us with 5 evenly planed strips, all by hand. I'll glue this up, and this will actually make the stick section of the walking stick. I decided to laminate this because I think it's going to make it stronger. With the 3 different laminated timbers together, it's going to give it more rigidity and strength. It probably would have been fine as a single component, but it adds a nice visual effect as well as I think it will make it stronger. When planing this down, I took extra care to make sure it was perfectly square and that each side was even to the inlays, the strips, microcarpa strips, so that it was all even around and all square. And this is just a piece of brass plumbing fixture, and I brought it to the hardware store. I'll just cut the threads off and then we'll sand it down and tidy it up a bit. I've seen videos where they hand turn brass using hardened steel, so I've got an old chisel here that I put quite a steep edge on it and sharpened up, and seemed to have done the trick. This is a dowel hole in the handle that I'm drilling. There's going to be a dowel that's going to run through the cane bit of the walking stick into the handle to help join the two bits together, and then I'll just cut it out. The handle and the walking stick section will be joined together, and the brass will slot over each piece. So the brass will help the interlink between the two. So what I'm doing here is I'm shaping the handle down so that I can fit the brass onto it. As it starts getting close to fit, I just use the brass to rub onto the handle, and that indicates to me the areas that I need to shave off more. This old man needs the extra power in the goggles just to true up this line. This is going to be the flush area where the brass and the handle join together, so I want to make sure this is all nice and flat and square. I'm going to use this little bit of Queen Ebony here just to make a couple of bands on each end of the brass, just to give a little bit of definition on the walking stick. I put the main body of the walking stick into the lathe and then just turned down the area for the brass section. It was a lot easier than just doing it by hand. Beautiful. Right there. Right. Good. Right, I've never tried this. Alright, so I've drilled a 10 mil hole through here. I've clamped a chisel on about a 45 degree angle across the hole. I've just cut the top of the hole off. I've clamped that chisel on. Apparently you can make dowels this way by jamming in a piece and drilling it through there. So let's see if it works. Probably going to start a fire. But it's working. Cool. Alright, now we glue it up.
Looks alright. Well, doesn't look like much of a walking stick currently, but we're getting there. Next is a bit of shaping, I think. Cool. Got the basic shape how I want it. Feels good in the hand. That's to 120. Next thing is I want to shape the shaft. That's the next job. Right, I reckon in the middle of the hand is where the stick is supposed to go. So I'm just going to stand up like that. Top of the bench is sort of the middle of my hand. What's that? 850. Alright, we'll start at that point.
This walking stick's for my dad, and he is about the same height as me, so it should work out.
Yep, feels pretty good. Alright, shaping that.
This is a special reenactment and may not represent true events.
Oh damn and blast, I seem to have broken the handle. So unfortunately, it's snapped. I would have thought it would have been strong enough, but obviously it's not. It's broken on the short grain, sure enough, but I think my shortcoming here is I haven't made the dowel deep enough to give it that support, but yeah, it doesn't change the point of what do we do next. Well, I've invested too much time in the length of the walking stick, so what I'm thinking of doing is cutting this off, hollowing that out and making a new handle, inserting a new handle. So that's what we'll do to fix the problem. Unfortunately, there's not a lot else we can do. You could theoretically try and glue that together or something, but I think it's just going to be too weak. The only positive thing is it broke now, and it didn't break after I'd done a lot more work on it to finish it, or in worst case scenario, when it was being used. So yeah, so that's what we'll do next, is we'll remake the handle, but we'll make a few changes.
the first things I've done to strengthen the handle up is I've laminated 3 pieces together here, and the grain runs in the opposite direction of the piece that runs through the middle. So the grain and the handle run lengthways down into the length of the walking stick, whereas the 2 side bits will go across that way. So hopefully this will add support and strength, as well as the main dowel I'm going to make longer to run further up into the handle. I'm hoping that this will solve the problem and make it a lot stronger. The wood I'm using in the handle here is the 2 outside strips spalted triary. Has a lovely spalting and grain through it, so that should look quite nice. And then the middle strip, which is got the piece with the grain running in the opposite direction, that's a piece of microcarper as well. One of the benefits of having to do things twice is it allows you to work things out so that you can actually do them faster than you previously did. Here, instead of rasping it around, I'm just cutting straight down, and then I'm going to round this off from here. It was a lot quicker and actually more accurate than what I previously did it. The orientation now is a little bit more important. Now that I've got that laminate running through the middle of the handle, it's got to now align itself up to the middle of the 2 strips on the walking stick. So that was a little bit tricky to get right, but I think we got it pretty good in the end. I didn't just want to make a round handle here. I spent a bit of time actually shaping it to the form of the hand when the hand is clasped. So a hand isn't perfectly round when you clasp something. It's actually a sort of an oblong shape. So I spent time shaping the handle to fit the hand better than just a round circle. Now we're back to square one with the handle again. Let's start working on the main stick. I'm not going to make the stick round. This is another change that I've done, is I want to make the stick actually like a hexagonal shape. And now, with the help of the little jig, I can now plane the tops of the corners of the square off, tapering it from the top of the walking stick to the bottom, having a heavier taper at the bottom. And that'll give us our little hexagonal shape. This gives you a better view of what I'm trying to achieve. You can see the hexagonal starting to come in as I'm knocking the corners off the squares and having 8 even sides instead of 4. Once I've established the hexagonal taper to the bottom of the cane, I am now blending the roundness of the top into the taper on the bottom, or the hexagonal taper on the bottom. This took a little bit of time, but it was just a matter of slowly working it down and blending the two together. So I sanded up to about 320. Now time for some finish. This is just Danish oil, so I'll give it 3 coats of this, and between each coat I'll just wire wool it down and then just take the nibs and that off it and give it 3 more coats. And then from there I'll give it a coat of wax to finish. This is a piece of 800 grit wet and dry, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this and run it in a circle around the brass to give it a brushed effect on the brass. I didn't want a polished effect. I thought the brush effect would look quite nice, and this is how I accomplished it. And the last thing to do is put a rubber foot on it. You can see here I've put a bit of a recess in the bottom of the walking stick, and it just slots nicely onto that.
Well, that's it. I think we've got a finished walking stick. Come up really good in the end, I think. It's the head. Yeah, happy with that. Should do a pretty good job. Some real challenges in this one. From any mistake you make, you always learn something. You can see the new strip through the middle there, which should give it more strength. It feels a lot stronger. Well, I don't know. It does feel a lot stronger, but it shouldn't break like the other one. But no, happy with that. It's come out really good. Thanks for making it this far in the video. I appreciate you hanging in there and watching my videos. Remember to hit the like and subscribe if you like my content. I appreciate the support. Should do the trick. I hope my dad has plenty of years of use out of it. That's the goal. Alright, On to the next project.